Arcana Unleashed is a new D&D book that's coming out in September. WotC sent me a sneak peek of what is inside the book, so today I want to talk to you about 4 subclasses, those being the Warrior of the Mystic Arts Monk, the Transmuter Wizard, the Vestige Patron Warlock, and the Arcane Archer. First, let's talk about the Warrior of the Mystic Arts Monk. This is a monk subclass that is a 1/3 caster. It's like Arcane Trickster or Eldritch Knight, just this time it's a monk. People have been asking for something like this for a while. I've seen a lot of people take the 4 elements monk and make it into a 3rd caster. I think this is kind of a better way to do that, because with the magic monk, you can pick any spell, but with the 4 elements monk, if you made it a 3rd caster, you were kind of limited to elemental spells, or reflavoring spells to be elemental, which can be pretty hit or miss. This monk can pick spells from the sorcerer spell list. I'm not entirely sure why they went with sorcerer and not wizard, like Eldritch Knight or Arcane Trickster did. I think the point of it is to show this is like innate magic, like a sorcerer is. However, with this subclass, it uses your wisdom modifier, not your charisma modifier, and thank goodness, because a monk that also needed charisma would be so rough. At level 3, you get some sorcerer spells and you get some spell slots. Interestingly though, your spell slots and your key don't interact with each other until level 6, which I think makes sense because they're trying to avoid a coffee lock type situation, which I can totally get behind. I totally understand if the designers are like, we don't want to deal with that. Because the coffee locks were just a whole can of worms, man. At level 6, they get Mystic Focus. Basically, it allows you to convert spell slots into focus points and focus points into a spell slot. The conversion to spell slots to focus points looks something like this. You can convert focus points into spell slots only when you finish a short rest or use Uncanny Metabolism, which, as a reminder, when you go into initiative, you can get back all of your focus points, and you can use that once per long rest. The kicker here is when you convert focus points into spell slots, you only get back 1 spell slot. It can be a bigger spell slot depending on how much focus points you put into it, but you can only get 1 back. You can't get multiple spell slots back. And they also cap it, so the highest level spell slot you can get back is level 4, which is the highest level spell slot this monk can get on its own. So as you can tell, this design is clearly trying to avoid a coffee lock type situation. So in terms of using key to get more spell slots, it's not great. However, you can use those spell slots to have a higher maximum key pool effectively, because you could just convert all those spell slots into key. You could not interact with the spells at all, just use cantrips and use your spell slots as key reserves so you can flurry of blows more. That's something, you know. you could try that. I don't know how good that would be. It really depends on how resource intensive your campaigns are, but you know, that's an option. Also at level 6, they get Mystic Fighting Style. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of your unarmed strikes with the casting of 1 sorcerer cantrip. I mean, yeah, it's good. Just more damage with Booming Blade or Green Flame Blade. You can do some fun stuff with Shocking Grasp. This is the exact same feature as Eldritch Knight's War Magic feature. It was good there, it's good here. I think this is a pretty good level 6 feature. At level 11, they get Focus Strike. When you use your Stunning Strike, whether the target succeeds or fails on the saving throw, the target has disadvantage on saving throws against your spells until the start of your next turn. So use a Stunning Strike, and they're more likely to fail against your spell save DC. That sounds good in theory. However, this is level 11. At this level, the highest spell level you have is 2nd level. At level 11, there's not really much you could do that I feel like will be that impactful here. I don't know, Shatter, Crown of Madness, there's Hold Person, which is actually really funny if you think about it, because if you use your Stunning Strike, you're trying to stun him, right? So if that fails, you can then try to Hold Person him. Oh man, I didn't lock him up. Let's try and lock him up again. This is echoes of the old 5.0 monk where you could just use your flurry of blows to try and paralyze someone 4 times in a row. It's not the same thing, but it reminds me of that, so it just makes me laugh. But yeah, there's just not really any spell here that makes it worth it. 2 levels after you get this ability, you get 3rd level spells, and there the spells are a bit more impactful, like Fear or Hypnotic Pattern. I think this could be a really good level 11 ability. However, they don't really get that many spells to fully capitalize on this. At least spells that would be good at level 11. So I don't know, I can't really say this is a good feature. If they just had like, I don't know, a 5th level spell or something, you know, appropriate for level 11, I think this would be a good feature. But as it is now, I don't think it's that good. At level 17, they get improved Mystic Fighting Style. When you use your Flurry of Blows, you can replace 2 of your unarmed strikes with the casting of a level 1 or level 2 sorcerer spell, and it's part of that bonus action. So basically, trade in 2 punches, and you can bonus action cast a level 1 or 2 spell. This is at level 17. I don't care. What am I gonna do when I'm fighting Demogorgon? Cast Grease on him? Whatever, man. This is nothing. Like, I could see it maybe as some setup. Maybe you want to cast Blur on yourself to make yourself harder to hit. Maybe you want to cast Hold Person to make them easier to hit. Maybe you could cast Death Armor. I don't care. This is nothing. You can't make me care about a bonus action level 2 spell at level 17. I just don't care. Especially because they have so few spell slots to begin with, so whatever, man. Overall, I think I just don't like 1/3 casters. Their spell progression is so slow that other characters in your party will quickly leave you behind in terms of power. If they focused more on like cantrips, or maybe their lower level spells were more empowered in some way, I think that'd be really cool. But as it stands, you're just kind of a worse sorcerer. I think the biggest problem is there aren't many sorcerer spells that enhance the monk's playstyle. Like, how is this subclass complementing monk? What spells on a sorcerer spell list can help a monk better, or drastically change their playstyle but still complement the base monk kit? Monk is a close-up fighter, and yet we've seen like ranged monks like Dragon Monk or Sunsoul Monk. Well, maybe the Sunsoul doesn't work. My Sunsoul Monk works. The point I'm making is a subclass that introduces a drastically different playstyle can work. This kind of makes me wish instead of the sorcerer spell list, they did the paladin spell list, just because the paladin is all about bonking people. I know paladin uses smites that use their bonus action, and that kind of conflicts with flurry of blows and unarmed attacks, but I don't know. I feel like they could make it work. I feel like there is a way to make that subclass. I feel like the best way to play Warrior of the Mystic Arts Monk as it's written in this book is to go to level 6 or level 10. Basically, don't take the level 11 feature because it's not that great, and then multi-class out. But if you played this subclass to level 11 and beyond, I can't see this monk being very good.
Did someone say explosions?
No one said that.
World Anvil is the perfect tool for creative people who want to organize all their juicy bubblegum flavored thoughts. Let's be honest, how long is your lore document for your D&D world? Is it over 50 pages long? And when you send that document to your players, did they read any of it? Did you want them to read like, I don't know, a little bit of it? Well, with World Anvil, you can make something almost like a wiki page for your D&D game, so it's way more approachable for your players. You can tell them what area of the world the game is taking place in, and they can click on an interactable map, learn more about the area, and make a character that is deeply immersed in the lore and history of your world.
That's called interactive storytelling!
World Anvil has got tools to help you organize campaigns, world maps, battle maps, and character sheets for systems like D&D, Pathfinder, and over 100 more tabletop systems. And if you use discount code BONE, you get 51% off any yearly membership to World Anvil. So try out World Anvil today and start forging your world.
Thank you to World Anvil for sponsoring this video!
Next up is the Transmuter Wizard. Here is the art for it. As you can tell, this guy's in the midst of transforming into a T-Rex. The writers know why you use polymorph when you're a wizard. They're self-aware, so this is cool. At level 3, they get Transmutation Savant. It gives you 2 transmutation spells to add to your spellbook, and whenever you gain access to a new spell slot level, you can add a transmutation spell into your spellbook for free. We've seen that with the other wizard classes in 5.5. This is a pretty standard feature. It is good though, I do like it. Also at level 3, they get Transmuter Stone. It lets you create a cool rock. When a creature holds that rock, they gain proficiency in Constitution saving throws. As a wizard, that is really good. You are going to break concentration a lot less with this, so that's really good. The rock can also give its holder one of 3 benefits, like giving dark vision or extending dark vision, granting 1 damage resistance, or increasing the rock holder's speed by 10 feet. You know I'm going with the speed. I'm going with the speed every time. That is so good. But you're not locked into one of these. Every time you cast a transmutation spell, you can switch from one benefit to another. I think giving this to a paladin paladin or a melee cleric or a melee ranger is super good. You could do a lot of work with this. Any character that holds concentration on something while they're going into melee, if you give them this rock with a resistance, or better yet, the increased speed, they will ball with this. They will rock. It's gonna rock. And they get another level 3 feature called Wondrous Alteration. You always have Alter Self prepared, and you can cast it once without expending a spell slot. When you are under the effects of Alter Self, you gain some additional benefits, like when you choose the aquatic adaptation, you can dash in the water as a bonus action. When you give yourself natural weapons, it does an extra d6 of damage, and you have advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. And when you change your appearance with Alter Self, you have advantage on deception checks. Now, the aquatic adaptation thing, I don't really care about. The increased damage with the natural weapons, super don't care about. I feel like you could just use a cantrip like Shocking Grasp and do better, because at least then you can run away. If you are clawing as a wizard with 2d6 damage, you're already 1 foot in the grave, dude. However, advantage on Constitution saving throws with the added proficiency in Constitution saves you get from the stone is really good. You can really hold on to concentration with these benefits. But I think the best thing here is the advantage on deception checks. With this feature, you can be a very deceptive wizard. Advantage on deception checks is so good when you can just be a shapeshifter. Truly, this is the gaslighting subclass. At level 6, they get Empowered Transformation. When you use a spell slot to cast a transmutation spell that doesn't make an attack roll or force a saving throw, you can increase the spell's effective level by 1. And you can use that feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier per long rest. Simply put, this feature allows you to freely upcast some of your transmutation spells a few times a day without the need to expend a higher level spell slot. This sounds super good, and if it wasn't transmutation, this would be awesome. However, there aren't a lot of spells that can make this useful. On screen, you will see all the transmutation spells that can work with this feature. Empowered Transmutation doesn't work with a lot of transmutation spells. There are 2 spells that have asterisks next to them, Dragon's Breath and Animate Objects. Those might work. I am unsure if those would work because they don't technically force a saving throw. Yes, when you use Dragon's Breath, you spit out fire that people have to dodge and they have to make a dex save. Technically, the spell isn't forcing a saving throw. That is an action you are doing that's not part of the casting of the spell. So, does that count? Does it not? Same with Animate Objects. You aren't damaging anyone with the spell. The spell is just making things that have their own turn order and then can attack things. It's unclear if those spells would work. I believe the writer's intentions were spells like Dragon's Breath doesn't work with this feature. You could argue rules as written that it can work. However, the spirit of the word, the spirit of the feature seems like it does not want you to do that. So that's how I interpret it. I could be wrong. I personally think it's fine. I would not have an issue with someone getting 1 extra d6 out of Dragon's Breath. That wouldn't really bother me. My issue with this feature isn't that it doesn't let people do more damage. My issue is that I feel like it's targeting the wrong spells, or it's written kind of incorrectly, because the way transmutation spells work is they buff people. They make someone stronger in some way. Spells like Enlarge or Haste or Stone Skin, they give someone a buff. All those spells I just mentioned don't have a way to upcast them. They just can't work with this feature because the writing doesn't exist. I wish this feature didn't increase the spell's effective level. Instead, I wish it allowed you to target more people, because that's generally how upcasting transmutation spells work, especially the ones that don't deal damage. You can just target more people. It would be really cool if you could target 2 people for haste, 2 people for enlarge, 2 people for stone skin, but sadly, that's not the case. Also, I'm just saying, where was an ability like this for the Magic Monk? At level 11, they're only using level 2 spells. They could have used that extra d6 for their very weak spells. I really wish Magic Monk got something like this, because if they have to use a lower level spell, at least it can be stronger. At level 10, they get Potent Stone. Now your Transmuter Stone can have 2 benefits on it. So you can pick up another resistance if you want, or you have 2 more options to choose from, like Mighty Build gives you advantage on strength saving throws, and you count as 1 size larger for your carrying capacity, or you can get a Tremor Sense with a range of 30 feet. Considering you can change out these benefits whenever you cast a transmutation spell, this is great. You have access to all of these abilities kind of at the drop of a hat. You could just cast Jump and yep, I have Tough Vision. You could cast Longstrider to increase your carry capacity if you just needed to move a couch. That is something you could do. Also at level 10, they get Shapeshifter. It is a free use of Polymorph, once per a long rest. Also, when you cast Polymorph on yourself, you get some benefits, like you keep all of your mental stats, you have access to your class features and feats, and you can cast spells in your new shape. However, they can only be transmutation spells that don't have a material cost. This is super good. You can be a T-Rex while shooting out spells. Now, there aren't a whole lot of spells I could see you using while transmuted. The spells I can see you using are Disintegrate or Blink. That's terrifying. You can be a dinosaur that blinks in and out of existence, which is really good because that way you'll get hit less and then you'll have to make less concentration checks, which as a wizard is very nice. Other than that, the one spell that comes to mind is Erupting Earth. It's basically the poor man's fireball. You just make rocks explode underneath people. If your DM is cool, they will allow you to cast Erupting Earth not just on the ground, but the wall in the ceiling. Put it on the wall of a building to make a breach and clear type situation. At level 14, you get Master Transmuter. This lets you sacrifice your stone to do a variety of things. The stone is not destroyed if you spend a 7th level or higher spell slot. So what are some of the things sacrificing your Transmuter stone can do? There is a Panacea option, which allows you to touch a creature and they regain a number of hit points equal to half of their maximum HP, along with removing any curses or get rid of poison and petrified. It also gets rid of magical contagions, whatever that means. Another thing you can do by sacrificing the stone is restore a creature's youth. You can also raise someone from the dead, and you can... okay. There's also Major Transformation, which allows you to transform one object into another object. The object has to be of similar size, mass, and of equal or lesser value. I don't like this. I just don't like it just because it's just work for the DM. It's like, hey DM, can I change this wood into metal? I don't know, can you? What is the going rate of metal and wood? The most reasonable outcome I see for this feature is DMs throwing their hands up in the air and saying, screw it, yeah, you can do it, whatever. I don't like this feature just because it's so vague, you know? I think the 5.0 version was like that too, just because as it's written right now, it's not really gonna break the economy, but I don't think there's any way to write it that doesn't break the economy in a way that satisfies both the player and the DM, which is kind of the whole point of transmutation. It's to turn lead to gold, right? Ultimately, I just think major transformation is a hassle. There is one thing that grinds my gears about that. I don't love how many subclasses in D&D 5.5 are getting the option to raise the dead at no cost. There's Transmutation Wizard, Mercy Monk, and the Reanimator Artificer. I think that's too many subclasses being able to raise the dead for free. I think it should cost something if you want to raise someone from the dead. It's already so easy to bring people back. People at this level, allegedly, are supposed to have so much money. That wasn't the case for me when I ran high-level D&D. I kept everyone poor. Overall, the Transmuter Wizard, yeah, it's pretty good. It is a noticeable improvement from its 5.0 counterpart. I actually made a version of the Transmutation Wizard before this came out. It focuses more on buffing your friends and transmuting their gear to be even stronger. So if that interests you, maybe go check that out. It's only $2 to get that and a bunch of other stuff. You can find a link to my Patreon in the description of this video. Next up is the new Vestige Patron Warlock. This is a warlock whose patron is a dying god, also known as a vestige, and you can summon that vestige to fight for you. And the flavor text is awesome. You're basically fighting alongside a forgotten god to help regain its powers. That's super cool. Here's my question, where was any of this flavor text for the magic monk? The flavor text for that was shorter and basically just said, yeah, you're a monk who uses magic. All the sauce clearly went to the Vestige Patron. In terms of mechanics, at level 3, you get a Vestige Companion. This is a companion that can either be a Celestial Fiend or Undead. It has the basic rules for a companion. You have to use a bonus action to command it to attack. You can sacrifice one of your attacks to make it attack. Pretty standard stuff. One thing I think is odd is when you finish a long rest, you can switch between it being a Celestial Fiend or Undead, which... For story reasons, I just gotta go, huh? How do you go from a god having a celestial background to a god having a fiendish background? Like, how do you go from literally heaven to hell? Like, when you're a vestige, can you just like reinvent yourself? It's like a rebranding. A little funky. I'm not sure what that's about, but you know what? Hey, it's got some cool abilities. So the companion you can use, I think it's kind of crazy. So first of all, its AC is 13 plus your charisma modifier. So at level 3, that's 16 AC. That's comparable to the Beastmaster's Companion. The health is a little bit lower than the Beastmaster Ranger's Companion or the Battlesmith Artificer's robot dog thing. It's got a +2 in int, dexterity, and wisdom, and a +3 in charisma, 10 in con, and a 1 in strength, which is really funny to me. It's immune to charm, frighten, and prone, and this trait it has, I think, is bonkers. Add your proficiency bonus to any ability check or saving throw the Vestige makes. Now, this is a trait that other companion classes have, like with the Beastmaster's Beast. However, this thing can talk, and it has high intelligence and high charisma and high wisdom. It could be the party face. It can be the party brains. At level 3, have a +4 to all intelligence-based skills and be able to relay that info to you. And aside from athletics, the minimum bonus this Vestige gets to all their skill checks is +4. All of this thing's skills, aside from athletics, are at least +4. That is kind of wild in my opinion. I don't know if I love that. It will never be as good as a bard or a wizard, obviously, but this is just so good out of combat. It is really good. I kind of wish you just picked 2 skills. I think Pact Bond works with something that doesn't have high intelligence and that doesn't talk. But this can. It's really good out of combat. But how does it do in combat? Its attack is pretty good. 1d6 +3 plus your charisma modifier. At level 3, that's 1d6 +6. That's pretty good for a bonus action. It's not as strong as like the Sphinx of Wonders attack, but the attack's range is 60 feet and does an average of 10 damage, and it just costs your bonus action. So while the Sphinx of Wonder is putting up around 12 damage, the Vestige can deal more consistent damage and from further away, which is really nice. The Vestige has another advantage over the Sphinx of Wonder. You are saving on a Warlock invocation by not having to opt in to Pact of the Chain. I'd argue the Vestige is stronger than anything you can get from Pact of the Chain. Also, the Vestige stat block has more abilities! Depending on which form you choose, Celestial, Undead, or Fiend, you get some once per a day powers. If you go with the Undead ability, you can make a target have disadvantage on attack rolls against you and the Vestige. It's great if you want this little guy to tank for you. If you pick the Fiend can swap places with you if you are within 60 feet of each other. That's really good. And if you pick the Celestial, it gets a healing ability. It does 2d8 plus your charisma modifier in healing, and it also ends either blinded, deafened, or poisoned. That's really good. These are all pretty good options. I think the healing touch one is probably the best here, in my opinion. And what makes this really strong is the fact that it uses its bonus action to use its divine power, like it could heal you and then attack. So that is very good. Weirdly, in combat, I think this is probably fine. Out of combat, this does give me a little bit of pause. Although maybe you can't really use the charisma on this thing to its fullest ability, because it says on the feature for Vestige, you cannot hide its otherworldly appearance. So there might be some people who be like, yo, is that a demon? I'm not talking to that thing. So there's ways around it, but maybe that's the point. You know, it's supposed to be this forgotten god. It's supposed to be old, so it should know a bunch of things. You know what? It does actually sound kind of cool. Probably not broken. It's probably fine. And I think it tells a pretty cool story with it, so, you know, I've convinced myself maybe it's fine. Also at level 3, they get Vestige spells. Every Warlock gets extra spells from their subclass, and this one is no different. However, it doesn't give you a set list. It lets you choose which domain from the cleric subclasses you get your spells from. And you can choose between life, light, trickery, or war, all the ones in the player handbook. And while a lot of them don't have a lot of good scaling for Warlock, I think the life domain is the clear winner here. Warlock gets spells on a short rest, and Cure Wounds got buffed, and now heals 2d8 plus your spellcasting modifier. And when you upcast it, you get an additional 2d8. At this level, at level 3, your Cure Wounds do 4d8 plus 3 healing, and you get them back on a short rest. That is really good. That is a really good healing subclass in my opinion. I'm picking life domain every time, dude. I'm gonna heal up with my little cat friend. We're gonna be the Healy Boys. Speaking of Healy Boys, at level 6, they get Vestige power. So remember those abilities the Vestige got? The ability to teleport, to heal, or to give someone disadvantage? Those came back on a long rest. With this feature, it can now come back on a short or long rest. That's even more healing per a short rest. It also gives you the same resistance that your Vestige has. If you pick the Undead Vestige, Necrotic, Radiant for Celestial, and Fire for Fiend. The one caveat to the ability is you have to be within 30 feet of the Vestige to get that resistance. Its bit odd the resistance requires you to be within 30 feet of the vestige. However, getting your divine powers back, getting your divine bonus action for your vestige back on a short rest now is so strong, I'm fine with it. Also, I kind of like the fact that you have to be within 30 feet of the vestige to get that resistance. It kind of shows, hey, you're getting your power from me. I think it's a pretty cool storytelling thing. Even if it is a little weaker, I still like it. At level 10, they get Vestige Recovery. When your Vestige goes down to 0 HP, you can use a reaction, spend a pact slot, and bring it back to full health. And then the Vestige teleports to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of it. And you can use this ability once per long rest. That is really good. If you are having this thing tank for you, this is great. It takes a minute to resummon this thing, so this is just a little easier to do in the midst of a fight, because yeah, it does have pretty good AC. It still has the health of a wizard, so it's probably pretty easy to take down. But yeah, just bringing your guy up, the guy your subclass is tied to, up quickly, I think that's great. Good feature. Level 14 is where we go off the rails. This feature is called Semblance of Life. This gives your Vestige companion a super form. As an action, you can have your Vestige adopt one of the forms from the Summon Celestial spell, the Summon Fiend spell, or the Summon Undead spell. And those spells are pretty strong. Those spells might as well be called Summon Fighter. When your Vestige is in these super forms, they get an amount of temp HP equal to what the HP of that summon would be. Additionally, your Vestige also takes the ability scores from that Summon Spirit stat block, so no more having one strength, it can actually lift things now. But that's not why this is strong. The stronger the spell slot you use for these summon spells, the stronger the spirit will be. That makes sense. And the level of spell that is used for this ability is equal to half your warlock level to a maximum of 9, because there's no 10th level spells. It has really great scaling, but again, that's not why this is super strong. Let's just look at the Summon Celestial Spirit stat block, because I was glazing that so much earlier. Let's just go with the Avenger form, the one that gets a Radiant Bow. It has 18 AC, 60 HP, so that's 60 temp HP for your Vestige. At level 14, when you get this ability, the Celestial Spirit can have 3 attacks. At level 16, it gets 4 attacks. It really is Summon Fighter. And at level 14, all of those attacks do 2d6 plus 7 radiant damage. And that's really, really strong, perhaps even too strong, but it's nothing stronger than the other casters could do. So, Bone Wizard, why do you think this is such a big deal? Because, dear viewer, this super form the Vestige has does not require concentration. Do you see how strong this can be? You can have your Vestige become an Avenging Angel, and then you can summon another Avenging Angel. Oh my god. It's actually crazy. Keep in mind, Magic Monk had to sacrifice 2 of its attacks and its bonus action to cast a level 2 spell. Meanwhile, the Vestige Warlock can spend a bonus action to make 3 strong attacks, and then the other Avenging Angel can just make attacks without having to spend an action or a bonus action. And keep in mind, the Summon Celestial spell lasts 1 hour. So before combat even begins, or even before you enter a dungeon, you can summon 2 Avenging Angels, and without even having to use your action, you can make 6 attacks. This is crazy, dude. That is so overpowered. I wouldn't allow this at all. Oh my god, I thought it was fine up until this level. If you just changed it so this super form for your Vestige required concentration, I think that would be totally fine. I think that'd be perfectly balanced. But the fact that it doesn't, and that you're allowed to do goofy crap like this to bring multi-summons back where they absolutely should not be, is nuts. There is a Warlock that has something very similar to this. The Great Old One at level 14 has Create Thrall, which you can cast Summon Aberration without concentration, but that can last a minute. That also arguably might be too strong, but it's not nearly as strong as this. This is a lot. Unless I'm reading something wrong, this is too much. And the Summon Celestial spell is not a weak spell, it's actually quite strong. I didn't even talk about the Summon Fiend spell. So what do I think of the subclass? Up until level 14, I think it's really well done. That needs concentration, that is crazy. I just keep looking at this subclass and thinking, where were you for the monk? You clearly poured so much passion into this and fun design, and you didn't really give any of that for discount bargain bin. We slapped a monk sticker on on to the Eldritch Knight subclass. Arguably, Magic Monk is better than Eldritch Knight, but I don't care. WotC, you don't get praise just for doing the same thing twice. But going back to Vestige, I think it's a good subclass. It's got cool flavor, it's got good mechanics, just that level 14 ability needs to be toned down, dude. And the last subclass is the Arcane Archer. This should be a layup for WotC to buff because the original Arcane Archer did not have a level 10 feature and it didn't have a level 18 feature. It did boost the damage of all of its magic arrows by doubling how much damage they do, which sounds good until you remember that was the only scaling they got. They got all their magic arrows at level 3 and didn't have scaling until level 18. So this should be really easy for WotC to make a better version of. So do they do it? Let's find out. So at level 3, they get their Arcane Shot. Basically, it lets you shoot magical arrows that have special effects. You learn 2 at level 3, and you learn 1 more at level 7, 10, 15, and 18. The Arcane Shot options are basically the same as the ones in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Banishing Shot banishes someone, Beguiling Shot charms someone, Bursting Shot explodes. Some key differences are Shadow Arrow now fully blinds people. Before, it just gave someone a sight range of 5 feet. Grasping Shot, what it does now is it just restrains a creature when you hit them with your arrow. Originally, what it did is it reduced a creature's movement speed by 10, and the first time they move on their turn, they take 2d6 damage. A big change to all of these Arcane Shots is now they all have scaling baked into the ability. You get an Arcane Shot die that gets bigger as you level up. That's just built-in scaling, which is great. And with all of these Arcane Shots, you can apply the effect when you deal damage to a creature with your arrow or bolt. Before, it was you have to choose to use the Arcane Shot when you fire. Now you can choose to use it when the attack lands. Originally, you only had 2 Arcane Shots you could use per a short rest. Now, it's a number equal to your intelligence modifier. It would have been interesting if you got an amount equal to your proficiency bonus, but considering they come back on a short rest, I think it's good and I like it. Also, you don't have to use a bow with this subclass. You can use a crossbow or even a gun. The Fae are allowing guns now, and that's crazy. I would rather fight a dragon than have to go into the woods full of Smith & Wesson pixies. Also at level 3, you get a free cantrip, and you get some skills. Those are pretty much the same as the original. At level 7, they get Curving Shot. This is pretty much the same as it was in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So when you shoot an arrow and it misses, you can spend a bonus action to have that arrow attack a new target, a different target. It was good in 5.0, and it's good in 5.5. At level 7, they get a new feature called Magical Ammunition. This allows you to touch a piece of non-magical ammunition and make it magical. When it strikes its target, the effect takes place. What those effects are you can make an arrow that fills a 15-foot area with shadow. It extinguishes flames and also gives a -5 penalty to perception checks. I can see people doing some ninja assassin type stuff with this. There's unlocking ammunition, which is the goofiest thing I've seen in this entire book so far. When your magic arrow hits a surface, it casts Knock, and Knock is a super loud spell that opens locks in an area. It's effectively kicking the door in, but magically, and it works only on locks. And the last magical ammunition thing you get is Vine Ammunition. It creates a 120-foot long vine that grows from wherever the ammunition lands, and then you can climb it. So it's a grappling hook. That is cool. That is great. I love that. Get into some wacky hijinks with that. Overall, I think the magical ammunition thing is probably some of the most creative character design I've seen in this whole book. I actually really like this. Man, I wish there was more like exploration stuff like this, just like making a vine or just goofy unlocking ammunition stuff. Ways to interact with the world and not just killing monsters, you know what I mean? I think this is great. I would love to see more stuff like this. At level 10, they get the Ever Ready Shot. When you roll initiative, you can regain 1 expended use of Arcane Shot. This is the only feature they get at level 10. Boo! Boring feature, it's good. One might even say necessary. I don't care. That shouldn't count as a feature. This is boring. Give me something fun. Give me more grappling hook ammunition, man. I mean, whatever. It's good. It is good. I just wanted more ammunition. Maybe I'm just being greedy. At level 15, they get Indomitable Teleport. Your magical mastery lets you escape dire situations. When you use your Indomitable feature and succeed on the saving throw, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space that you can see. This is the funniest subclass, dude. Oh man, I got hit with a fireball. This sucks. I'm out, dude. While I like like this feature, in theory, you only have 2 uses of Indomitable per a long rest at this level, so I don't know, I wish this ability wasn't tied to Indomitable. I wish it had its own amount of uses, even if it was like 2 per a short rest. I think that would go a long way. I'm just saying. The Warlock can summon 2 fighters 1 level before you get this ability, and I can only use this teleport on a success twice per a long rest. If you can summon 2 fighters, I feel like I should be able to teleport a little bit more. I'm just saying. And at level 18, they get Masterful Shots. When a creature misses you with an attack roll, you can take your reaction to move up to half your speed away from the attacker without provoking attacks of opportunity, and then you can make a ranged attack roll as part of that reaction against the attacker. A reaction to attack is really good. I think this is a great level 18 feature. This feature lets you deal more damage. It keeps damage off of you by keeping you away from people, and you could do this an infinite amount of times. This is just an infinite thing, so I think this is really good. Overall, I think the Arcane Archer is a great buff to the previous subclass. Yeah, I think these subclasses are pretty good. I know this expansion is going to have like 4 wizard subclasses and the Arcana domain cleric. With all of this in mind, would I recommend buying this $30 PDF? Well, they're not paying me, so I don't have to say nothing. If only there was a cheaper alternative to $30. If only this cheaper alternative was more balanced than WotC products, and the money went towards supporting a creator that you might like and a channel you might enjoy. What I will say is you can get over 15 exclusive subclasses just for $2 over on my Patreon, along with a bunch of other things. So, you know, sounds like a pretty good deal to me. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I really gotta say about these new subclasses. Later.